Okay. All right. So, capstone to this whole fucking thing. There's so much that I do like about this game, but there's so much that I actually there's one thing that's kind of a running thread throughout every chapter of this game that I do not like and that I think weakens the game. And that is that it's unnecessarily too much and too long and too repetitive. I understand that it is mimicking an MMO, but it is not, in fact, an MMO. So, like, if this were a multiplayer game or an MMO, then you would have people that you were playing with. There would be a social aspect, but it's not. It's a single player game. It's a single player experience, and so all of the single player stuff has to keep you, like everything in the game itself has to stand alone and keep you engaged. It's not like in MMOs where, oh, I got to go grind this thing, we got to do this quest together, and then you can be with friends or you can meet people, and there's like a social aspect. Kind of like how I play a lot of tabletop games, so like playing like Dungeons and Dragons. You can play for like 4 hours and have a couple of battles that last forever, but it's fun. Like, even though not a whole lot of story can get done necessarily, you still have fun because you're sitting there with people that you like to play with, and it helps pass the time. And that's the whole point, is it's like a social thing. So, like, even though there's like the grind there, you're doing it together, and that's like the point. But with this, it's a single player game. So, like, the grind and doing all these quests and stuff like that, you're not like, there's nothing to get out of it that, like, equipment or anything that you can show off to other people. There's not people that you can drag along to your quests or talk to them and everything. Like, it's all its own contained thing. And so a lot of this, like, repetitiveness and a lot of these, like, unnecessary lengthenings of sequences, I really stuck with me after Thursday night. I forgot if it was Thursday night or last session, if it was Thursday night before I went to bed, or Friday, like the next day when I was thinking about it. And that sequence where you had to you went back to Vermilion Wasteland and you were gathering up all the Evatars, and you had to get that laser to zap them. And you did like 4 of them, and they brought in like 4 more from another place. And then you zapped them, and then you moved to another place, and there were 4 or 5 more. And you had to hunt them down, and some of them were up on ledges, and so you had to like platform to get over there and like go up and around on these pipes and drop down to this place that you can't get to any other way. And then you zap them, and then like people showed up from the west and brought 4 more people. It just went on and on and on and on and on. It's like, it didn't need to be that long. It was unnecessary. And I think that's where it stuck with me, that over this entire journey, it was this game, I think, is hurt by how much it has in it. And I'm not saying that what it has is like, oh, look at all these different mechanics and all these. It's just this. It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's the same. You know, it's a Snickers bar, but it's 50 of them. And then it's like time to change gears, and then it's a chicken salad, but it's like 10 pounds of it. And it's just it doesn't need to be that much. I think this game would be improved a lot if it just had some fucking brevity. If it was just a little, it wasn't as thick in a lot of places. And there were also a lot of places that, like, because then what would happen, then the other thing that happened is that you would play for like 12 hours and grind up and have stuff like, because there's 2 narratives going on. There's like the narrative inside of the game where you're meeting all the players and stuff like that and meeting all those characters. And then there's the larger narrative. There's like the meta narrative that's outside of the game. You would go for like 12 hours kind of piddling around with friends and doing stuff like that. And then you go through all these trials and quests and things like that, and then you would get this huge info dump of like the meta story, and that stuff was really interesting. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff, but the pacing was just awful, because you would play for like 10 hours and then you would sit down and it would just be like, all right, time to watch a fucking movie and read a novel and get all this stuff dumped to you. It was, and like all the other stuff, like the logs that I picked up along the way, I didn't read any of that shit. I read it the very first session that I played. I read through all of those things. And because I thought it would be important, I thought like, oh, they're building this world and it's so cool. And I after that first time, I don't think I ever looked at them again. Maybe like once or twice where I was like, oh, I picked up a log. What is it? And it was trying to build stuff. And that's the other thing, is that when the important bit is what's going on outside of the game with Sergei and I can't even remember their names. All of those people. and Gotham, everything that's happening outside of the game, the stuff that's inside of the game, the stuff that's inside of the game, not only with the in the game universe, like with the, I'm not even talking like with the player characters, like with Amelie and or Emily or whatever, and all of those people. I'm not even talking about like the other player characters. I'm talking about the story that the game itself is trying to like make important with going along the path or whatever that is like. That just seems so empty and unnecessary, and it's like who cares like at that point. And so when there are all these files and extra things that build out the universe of a game that you know is just a game, you know that isn't important, it just seems like unnecessary. It's almost like it hamstrings itself by having the meta narrative. Like the meta narrative is important, but in doing that, it makes the game itself, the game universe of Crosscode, like not as important. It doesn't have as much weight, and I don't care about it as much. I think that if the game were just like Crosscode and I played through that as the players were playing through it, it would be a very interesting universe. I thought it was really cool and everything like that. But because there's that outside narrative going on, it just doesn't have the same weight. Like I just couldn't care as much about any of the quests that I went on or anything like that. And because that's the majority of the game, is going around and doing all of these internal, like inside the game quests and unlocks and helping all of these, what I know for a fact, like it's breaking this immersion. It's breaking immersion playing a character that knows it's a character in a game when I have to do these quests to like stop a civil war or help these people get these things back that were stolen, and I'm constantly reminded that it's a game. Like it's cute, but at the same time, like it breaks that immersion. It makes it just not matter as much, and it made me not want to do it. It's so weird. There's so much that I like about this game. Everything that is aesthetic about it. I love the visuals. I love the music. I love the combat. When it didn't drag on for fucking ever, was a lot of fun. Once I kind of figured out, the flow of battle and everything like that. There's so much like aesthetically and mechanically that's good about this game, but what gets dragged down is the repetitiveness of a lot of the combat and a lot of the missions and quests and things like that, and also that meta narrative makes the stuff that's within the game universe within Crosscode like not matter, and I think it weakens it from that.